Hello, everybody. It's Mr. Rader here for a review on the wealth management case study for economics. And in this video, we'll look through the scenario, the dilemma, the task, and then we'll examine how to use a Google spreadsheet to easily allow us to calculate the allocation of a financial portfolio for Marco, a football prodigy who is being signed to play for the Philadelphia Eagles organization in the NFL. So in this scenario, we have Marco is about to graduate from Syracuse University. He is a senior at the school, and he's turning to his cousin Casey for their advice on what to do, as Casey's currently taking a personal finance course as part of their high school experience. So in this case study, Marco is being offered a $1.5 million signing bonus for his contract. And some things that we need to keep in mind is how should Marco allocate his spending and his savings so that he is able to begin to build his financial portfolio. A couple of things to keep in mind is that on average, a typical football player's career is about 4 to 5 years. They earn about $860,000 a year on average. However, within 2 years of retiring, almost 78% of professional athletes go bankrupt. So we want to try to avoid that outcome. So in the task, you're going to take on the perspective of Casey and offer advice to Marco. You want to be able to explain in part 3 how this is essentially an economics problem, right? Really incorporating the fact that because of scarcity, we are forced to make decisions where we evaluate different trade-offs, keeping in mind what their opportunity costs to allow us to come up with the best possible decision to really help us maximize our investments. In part 2, you'll lay out a variety of investment strategies that Marco can pursue and various costs, benefits, and trade-offs. Really, to get a high grade on this assessment, you want to consider the rationale for your allocation decision. That you need to be able to justify to your audience why you believe that X number of dollars or Y percentage of the portfolio should be allocated to a specific investment. And also keep in mind, and we did this in our budgeting unit, Marco does need to have enough money to pay for housing, food, clothes, and other expenses. So he can't invest everything. So looking at part 1, you'll read about wealth management. You'll look at the annotated bibliography on page 3, and you'll pick at least 2. I recommend maybe 3 to really maximize your knowledge here. But all the articles are hyperlinked with short excerpts that were pulled together for you so that you can use these resources to help you think through possible allocations of the budget. And then in part 2, you're going to decide how to actually allocate the money. And what I'm going to show you next is a way to save some time on the mathematics of calculating the amounts and the percentages. So looking at this financial portfolio, all I did was I took the descriptive table, highlighted it, I pressed Control-C to copy it, and then Control-V to paste it into the spreadsheet. If you notice under the title of the sheet, it says Marco's Wealth Management, and we have the various components. Now, if you just type in dollar amounts, so let's say I type in $100,000 in cash, not much is really going to happen. But what I'm going to want to do is look at the percentage column. And I'm actually going to make this a little wider so it's easier to read. And I'm going to type in our first formula, which is average. So I'm going to press equals. I'm going to press the Shift key, press the number 9 on my keyboard to open the parentheses. And I'm going to take what I want, which is this amount. I'm going to press divide, the slash key, the total, and I'm going to press enter. And now I have, it would be 6.67% of $1.5 million. And if we look, for example, certificate deposit, let's say we were doing $54,000. Again, when you go to the percentage, you'll do the same thing, equals, open your parentheses, take your amount, divide by your total, and press enter. Now, if I want to make sure everything adds up to 100%, I'm going to want to go into this column and I'm going to press equals, parentheses, sum. That'll tell us that I'm trying to add up the values. Highlight the columns that I want it for and press enter. And we see that the amount of money that we've allocated so far is only 11.27%. Now, notice what happens when I change the dollar amount. Let's say I only want $32,000. Notice it automatically adjusts and goes to 2.13%. This is what the finished product might look like, just to give you an example of one hypothetical allocation. And as we can see, the asset or the expense, the amount that's being spent, and the total percentages. And again, utilizing the formulas is a very useful tool for you to make sure you don't make mistakes in terms of the math. Same thing for the total amount here. This way, if you change any numbers, so let's say I change emergency expenses to 23,000, just for example, all the percentages do get changed. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And you'll notice that even the chart itself changed as well. So when we want to make the chart itself, we'll highlight our data that we're looking for, right? We'll identify what kind of a chart we want. We'll insert the chart. And we can see a list of all the information. We can change it. This would be an example column chart. I could go to the pie chart. Again, kind of breaking down some things. Now notice I made a mistake, and I did this on purpose. See how total is huge, is 50%? You don't want to include the total when you're making your chart. So I'm going to delete that. Let's see if I can just press undo. And I'm not going to include the total. I'm just going to include the asset, the amount, and the percentage. Go back to making my chart. And let's go back to the pie chart. So again, we can see the breakdown would be the same as the one that I have here. And then the last thing you want to consider as you break it down is just the things that we neglected to include. So notice in note 1 and note 2 information related to retirement accounts. Since Marco would be earning too much money, he would be ineligible to invest in a IRA or the individual retirement account. And it's very unlikely with a contract that there would be an option for a 401k plan. But just so that you all know that if you do get offered a job in the next couple of years with a 401k, they do have annual yearly limits on how much you can contribute. For this year, it is a total of $19,000. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful for you in terms of organizing your wealth management portfolio for Marco, and hopefully you can use that information to help you complete part 3, where you'll explain your rationale for the allocation that you made in part 2 to really help Marco identify a good strategy to manage his money. All right, everybody, take care.